So this is Emily Evett, partner in our litigation department at MSK. Thank you so much for tuning into this video in our Wellness Wherever series. I'm so happy to be joined today by Marla Mattinson and Julian Kolker, who are relationship and intimacy experts. They're also life and business partners, which they call couplepreneurs. So Julian, I was watching some sample tape of you guys last night to prep for this interview, and I know that you've had that beard. It's not actually a COVID-19 beard. You've had that beard for quite some time now, and I wondered, Marla, what do you think of the beard?
Love, love, love this majestic beard. Love. I love whatever he wants to do with his face. Whatever he wants to do with his face, I'm a full yes for.
I have freedom with my face. It's a good feeling to have freedom with my face.
And perhaps, I don't know, maybe that'll be part of the best friend bond that we're going to learn about today. Freedom of the face. I like it.
Freedom of the face is absolutely part of the best friend bond.
Tell you just a teeny bit of myself and my story. I was so excited to hear about this best friend bond because I have been with my husband for 20 years. We met as juniors in high school in English class, and we were certainly best friends at this point. But I didn't think that we were going to be working together in our home office / rec room / whatever. And then spending 24 hours a day together during a pandemic. So I'm just thrilled to get some extra relationship advice here, especially from you two who work together and spend, I presume, a lot of time. I imagine you were doing this even before COVID-19, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Business, life, everything. Pretty much 24/7. We do go on silent meditation retreats where we're separate for a period of time. But after that, yeah, we're together pretty much all the time.
All the time.
Yeah.
And what's like your number one trick to not make each other crazy?
Ooh.
I think the number one trick is that we genuinely like each other. So often in relationship, couples love each other, but they don't necessarily like each other. And so it's really important to learn to like your partner, get to know each other and spend time together in areas where maybe, you haven't in the past, do something new and exciting, get to explore something new with your partner as like two best friends exploring this new thing together.
Are there some new things that you guys have explored during the pandemic together?
Yes, so many new things. I mean, we have to ask ourselves, what are we doing with the time we have? So, so many of us need a little bit of space while we're in the same space together. So finding time where you can be separate and even scheduling that in the calendar to say, okay, I get the bedroom for this hour and everybody else goes somewhere else, right? To really take care of yourself. Or balcony is mine for 40 minutes. And just take care of yourself because we do need some separate time. And then when you are together, make that time intentional. To really say, you know what, let's put 30 minutes in the calendar where we're going to explore something new together. Maybe you go online and you look for a new product to purchase together that enhances your relationship, or, you're going to explore a new location or a park or something, where you're actually having a novel experience together, which then rewires your brain for something new, and you attach that newness, that freshness to your best friend, who also is your partner.
And I kind of jumped in the middle here, but maybe we should back up a little bit, just to define what we're talking about in terms of this best friend bond, because it sounds like kind of an overarching concept and vocabulary that we have for talking about our relationship. So maybe we can back up a little bit and kind of describe what's the best friend bond.
Yeah. It's really so unique for each couple. Julian and I love to work with different couples and see what is their best friend bond like. And so whoever's listening to this, don't take ours as the gold standard, the only standard. It's so unique. Don't try to be us where you're spending 24 hours together a day.
If that works for you, great.
Great.
Wonderful. And if that doesn't work for you, that's okay too.
Yeah.
You need to do what's the right thing for your relationship.
Right. And so, if we're going to define the best friend bond, it's something like something that pulls you forward together, that bonds you in ways that your best friend evolves over time, where you give your best friend space to be themselves and not some version of you that you want them to be. You release the control and you let go of how you want them to do things in a certain way, like load the dishwasher, right? You want to enjoy the way they express themselves. So when we were not joking about the freedom of the face, right? In the beginning here, part of that is I get to revel in Julian's full expression of who he is. And I'll tell you, it was not always that way. I used to really want to control a lot of that. So really for especially a lot of women, letting go of the control over how their partner is expressing themselves, and instead bringing a sense of wonder and awe and curiosity to the forefront of like, ooh, I wonder why he's doing it that way. I would never choose to do it that way. Instead of judgment, like, why are you doing it like that, right? So that's my version of the best friend bond, is to really allow for the spaciousness for your partner to express themselves in ways that feel good to them, and then getting curious about those ways and where do I fit in to enhance his life, to uplift his life, to bring more joy to his life. And am I being that vibration of joy, or am I bringing him down with my own worry and negativity and like that? So it's really like developing your own growth mindset, your own ability to see the big picture and give your partner the benefit of the doubt, while also taking care of your own needs and asking and requesting for what you need and want. There's a lot of spaciousness and freedom.
Indeed. The thing about the best friend bond too is that both partners need to be active participants. It doesn't work if one person's like, okay, well, I'm just going to make this best friend bond thing happen for us and you're just going to follow suit. It really doesn't work. Both partners need to be actively engaged and really be looking for opportunities to give each other the benefit of the doubt. Like when your partner brings something to you, give them the benefit of the doubt. That will help to strengthen and deepen that best friend bond.
It seems to me that the best friend bond is a way of interacting with your partner. And you call it the best friend bond because by not jumping on your partner and treating them with this sort of face that you describe, and with this sort of lightness and almost like a teensy bit of detachment, so you're seeing the big picture, by behaving that way, you're able to kind of maintain that best friend type feeling. Is that the notion, that it's the best friend bond because you would never treat maybe your best girlfriend by dumping on them all the time? So when you treat your husband or your boyfriend or your romantic partner of another sort that way, you are like maintaining, you're kind of caring for the friendship by approaching the relationship in a more calm, like mindful way. Have I got that right?
You're describing it like more of an equanimous versus super passionate and then super crazy and ups, downs, and like You're talking about a more even-keeled, equanimous experience.
And you're also pointing to something really important here, which is in our love relationships, most of us, especially during this time of the pandemic right now, we're getting lazy with our partners. We're just like, very loose-lipped and just dumping out and venting and complaining. And most people need to off-gas, and they don't have the regular places to off-gas. They don't have the coffee shop where they can go hang with their other friends all the time. People are being more mindful about, not being around other people too much. So, what's happening is we're getting very lazy, and people are lazy in general in their relationships in general. And so, because it's just easier. It's like, oh, well, I know they're going to be there, and so, but we treat our best friends with more kindness and more benefit of the doubt and more, oh, I know you didn't mean to hurt me there. So but I felt hurt. So what happened? So we're just requesting and inviting everyone to bring that same sense of lovingness to your partnership, and don't get lazy in your partnership. Really treat it like it's one of the most important things in your life, because it is. And it's something you're going to develop over time with your partner. And if you're not developing the best friend bond, you're unintentionally developing long-term resentment and feeling more alone and separate. That's an unintentional and unintended consequence of not developing the best friend bond. Yeah.
And I would say the best friend bond is really just a way to view, like a lens in which to view the relationship. It's a perspective.
Mm-hmm.
When you view your relationship through the lens of the best friend bond, it's just more fun.
It is.
How long have you two been working together in the context of the best friend bond and your couple's counseling and relationship expertise?
Well, I would say that we've been together for lifetimes and lifetimes and lifetimes, but in this lifetime, we've currently been working together for the last 4 years.
How would you say your relationship has changed by working together in kind of teaching this wisdom to others?
Oh my gosh. I mean, we so many ways. We use our relationship really as the vehicle for personal transformation. So we are constantly looking at, I'll just give you an example. When we first started dating, this is one of the reasons I knew that he was my guy, was Julian said, let's write down all the ways we're out of integrity and then look deeply at those things on a date. And I thought, my man. Okay, so that's not for everybody.
I have a fun date idea. Let's do an integrity exercise.
And so for me, I was like, sold, I'm good, I'm in. And yeah, so really actively looking for, where are even the little gaps? Where are the little places that we could be even better at, providing an amazing service for our clients? And so what do? We look at our own lives, at our own material. We practice everything we teach. And because of that, it makes it very easy and graceful for us to experience the truth of other couples. We can read it. It's very obvious because we're doing the work ourselves. Mm-hmm. It gives us a real strong purpose in a different way. So, before Julian and I started working together, I was working by myself. Mm-hmm. And so more of an intellectual understanding rather than an experiential understanding. And so I can tell you that I used to be way more controlling and way more hands-on, let me manipulate this thing. And now I've learned how to collaborate with my partner. The best friend bond is a collaboration. It's like, you got to ask yourselves, are you best friends by default because you're just spending all your time together because of COVID and, all that? Or are you best friends by choice? And we want to encourage everyone to move towards being best friends with your partner by choice, where you're actively saying, I want to develop this with you. I want to develop this over a lifetime with you.
And that was a question for me. I mean, because I've always thought my husband's my best friend, but maybe not all couples are best friends with each other. They have sort of a different construct of their relationship. Do you think that it's important or even essential for a couple to be best friends with each other? Or are there different models of relationships? The friend model, the romantic model. I don't know what all the types would be, but is it essential to be the best friend of your partner?
I would say that if you're working together, that it is essential. Because of the amount of time that you're going to be spending with each other, and because of the volume of communication that has to go back and forth just based on the nature of what you're doing, I think it's essential that if you are going to be working with your partner, that you are best friends. If you're not working together, it's not essential. There's definitely other models, like you said, other frameworks of relationship that don't have that best friend bond included. It's just that if you are going to be spending 24 hours together and you're going to be in business together, the best friend bond is vital.
It's vital. Yes.
So is having kids basically like being in business together? Is that I always thought of that um, as like, so my husband and I fell in love working on a group project, right, in high school, like super nerdy, right? But I always thought, that's a really good foundation for a relationship because life is basically one never-ending group project.
Right.
Uh,
I love that.
and so we have two small kids, and I feel like that's our current group project, and we read books to try to be better parents, etc. Would I know that you focus more on couples who are business partners together, but do you think that when couples have kids together, is it important to have that best friend bond sort of in the context of raising a family?
Yeah, it's interesting. That's a great question because our family lineage really determines a lot of that. If we don't take a look at where we came from in terms of how were you taught that parents navigate conversations, and if we don't take a look at it through our lifetime, then we just default into whatever we learned from our parents. So the idea is that we just start to question, not from a making wrong place, but just question as we question life, like, oh, what is this about? What am I just onboarding from my family lineage that is just a default versus I actually want this? This way, we asked earlier, are you best friends by default or are you doing it by choice? So when you're raising kids, and we have, Julian has an amazing 10-year-old daughter. We get to co-parent half time and then she's with her mom half time. And so there's a lot of navigation going on there. And if you're not best friends with your partner and you are raising children, sometimes what happens is, one person really has a strong need to control how the child rearing is going, and it's not in alignment with the other person. And so if you're not best friends and you haven't been developing that, it turns into a big conflict. It turns into my way is the right way and your way is the wrong way. And then there's no softness, there's no tenderness in that. And so the idea here is that if you have separate ways of moving through the world and you haven't developed the best friend bond yet, then the idea would be to say in curiosity, I wouldn't choose to do punishment or, restorative justice, like that. I would choose to do it like this. And you have conversations about your choices away from the children so that you can actually get on the same page together and find out where sort of like the Venn diagram of the intersection of the two lie, so that these are our talking points where we bring together as a united front to the kids so that they're not confused, so that they don't have to start aligning, oh, well, mom says this, or, dad says that, or, instead of aligning with one parent and then trying to manipulate and get underneath and get their own needs met as a child, you come together as a loving force of this is how we want to guide you into becoming, a young adult and then becoming a wonderful citizen of the world. So that the idea is, even if you just develop maybe 3 or 4 important points that you both agree on, how you're raising a child, that is incredibly helpful to help eliminate confusion for the kids. So it's less about you and it's more about the children.
Yeah, I'd say if you're not best friends and you're raising kids, you should definitely get some professional assistance on how to communicate.
Yes.
Like how to really navigate communication if you guys are not naturally best friends. Because like Marla said, if you have a few sticking points, a few pillars that you can lay the foundation on, then you can begin to build on that.
Right. And, a dear friend of ours is a childhood expert, and he explains it like we are carrying the frontal lobe, our decision maker, the executive decision maker for our children.
Until they're 25 years old and they have their own.
And it's developed, right? And so we are holding that executive decision maker for them. And so if I'm holding it in a different way than Julian's holding it, it sends a confused message to the child. So we want to eliminate as much as possible that confusion so that they just have clarity, because there is so much confusion going on right now in the world. We want to eliminate as much or dissolve with grace and ease as much of the confusion that we're delivering as parents as possible.
Since the impetus for this webinar series is to talk about issues affecting our health and well-being in the days of COVID. I want to follow up on what you said, Marla, about people being lazier, kind of only having their partner, dumping on their partner. You, at the top of the show, raised a couple of good points about how to create some space and not go crazy when you're all there with your partner all the time. But I'd love if both you and Julian could just elaborate on some advice for our viewers about what we can do during this time to combat the laziness, to keep freshness, to keep the newness. I think that would be really helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think one of the best tricks, I guess it's a trick, would be like giving yourself selective amnesia around your partner. And then it's like, whatever happened in the past, I don't even remember any of it. It's all gone. I'm seeing you with fresh eyes. So selective amnesia and seeing your partner with fresh eyes and being curious, like playfully curious, like, who is this person?
Who is this person that I chose to spend my life with? I'm not a victim here. I'm not, at the mercy of him. I'm like, oh, who is this? And who is he now? And, if you want your partner to grow into the best version of themselves, then you really want to give them the space to do that. And if you keep seeing them as like, well, I know she always does it like this, or, oh, he always ends up doing that, you now are the limiting factor on your partner's growth. If you keep seeing them as the same, instead of like, I wonder how he's going to load the dishwasher today. I wonder what's going to happen. I wonder if I'm still going to judge him or if I'm not, right? And so this 1-2 of selective amnesia, intentionally letting go of the things from the past that bring you frustration and suffering and negativity, and sort of blink and open and see your partner with fresh eyes, with curiosity and playfulness, that combination allows you to experience something new in the confines of your home that you may have unintentionally missed some of the beautiful growth that your partner is experiencing.
Which reminds me, if you're not sure about something, ask your partner. And then if you are sure about something, ask your partner, because guess what? They're changing all the time. They're shifting, they're evolving. So just because it was something they liked something a certain way yesterday does not necessarily mean they'll like it the same way today. And so by checking in, you're opening the communication lines for preferences to be expressed. Oh, you know what? Actually, thank you for asking. I'd like to do it a little bit differently today. And so it creates that best friend bond.
Yes. And then we want to give a really great technique here for all the couples. This also works great for colleagues. It works great for children. It's for everyone.
All relationships.
Any relationship you have. It's called the redo. And as you can imagine, the redo means you're going to redo something, right? It's not complex. It's a very simple technique.
The hardest part is remembering to do it.
Okay. And here's the cool thing. You don't even have to remember in the moment. Actually do this technique 10 years later. Okay. It doesn't really matter. You want to get good at actually seeing, oh, maybe I should ask for a redo right now in the moment. And it doesn't really matter if you don't. So here's what the redo is. So when you realize you didn't show up as your best self and you have that awareness, you say to your partner, hey, can we pause here for a moment? I realized 3 nights ago, remember when I yelled at you over, not putting the towel back? That was not my best self. And so, I think I'd love to do a redo with you. Are you available for me to redo that scenario? And what does that mean? That means both of us are going to show up as our absolute best selves, open hearts, sparkly eyes, and redo the situation like actors and create a new outcome together. And so when we do that, what happens is the negative situation that ended on a negative down note now gets redone and ends on a positive note. And what happens there is it rewires your brain to, when you recall the incident, instead of recalling it as, oh man, that was when that whole thing went down and then it ended on a thing and, oh, I still need to clean it up. Now you remember, Oh, and then we smiled at the end. And then, oh, yeah, oh, I really did show up as my best self at the end. So it changes that negativity moment into something that was now about growing together. And so one of our core foundation beliefs and values is growth over comfort. We want to grow and experience the truth of each other over being comfortable.
We'll take the short-term pain for the long-term growth.
Yes, yes. So the redo is an amazing thing. You just want to ask your partner, can I get a redo on that? And then you reenact the scenario. And we did a redo on a car thing that we had. We called that the whole blowout thing that we had. And we did it, but we weren't in the car to redo it. We sat in chairs and he pretended to drive.
Boom.
And then, I'm like, okay, we did the redo. And then
Wow.
we got to rewire our brains. It works for any conflict that you've ever had. Because remember, it's not your fault. It's your biology. The chemicals start flooding in your brain and you don't view your partner as the loving human they are. You view them as a threat on a biological level. And then you act like they're a threat and you get into the conflict. So that's just DNA and that's just our biology as humans. And if you recognize that, then you pause long enough so that portion of the activation can calm down. Your brain starts to downregulate those emotions and those chemicals, and then you can actually greet each other with that empathy and compassion that you don't have when you're activated by your partner. We have a downloadable PDF of the redo. We're happy to send that to you, and you can have that for all the listeners here as well.
That's great. I think I saw on one of your programs last night, Marla, that everyone has like a couple fighting style, and I wondered if you've noticed I was thinking about your selective amnesia point. For me, my lawyer fighting couple style is all about same thing I would do my job. I cite all the past cases, right? So as a lawyer, I got to be able to say, there were 5 other cases where the same thing happened and the same decision was reached. So if my husband does something, oh, well, this is like the 5 other times that you did the exact same thing, and I'm citing it's very much a port over from my job.
Okay, we got you. Yes.
So how do you counsel somebody who maybe in their job, it's their job to, first of all, to argue and to be right, and also to keep track. I mean, that's right? To remember all that stuff. And so what do you do to kind of actively coach that amnesia?
Okay, this is a beautiful question. First of all, yes, we work with lawyers and medical doctors. We tend to work with people who are highly intelligent and they are experts in their field and they pack a punch when it comes to proving their argument and having the evidence to back it up. So many things flew through both of our minds because we live in the cloud together also. So we sort of have a bubble between us of, should we do this one or this one? So we actually have a great technique for this. And before we tell you the technique, which is called the venting technique, okay, it's important how you bring yourself to this venting technique because lawyers, and my dad is also a lawyer, I have a very soft spot in my heart for lawyers, he's an excellent attorney, is the danger of the lawyer is the chess moving, right? It's like, I'm going to chess move, and I win. And if one person wins, of course, that implies
somebody has to lose.
Right? And so the idea here is, like Julian said earlier, it's always the two of us versus the issue rather than us being the issue, even when one of us is the actual issue. So even if one person is the issue, we want to view that as like my small self was the issue. So my divine self or my highest self or my inner elder or my wise one inside of me is going to bring myself to the conversation, not my small self who wants to be right and make you wrong and get it and get all the points and the goodies, and then you're in the doghouse and and I'm on the top, right? That's not the best friend bond. So the first thing is to see if you can get on the same page together, okay? And to come from the place of collaboration where how do we move through this together, okay? Then this is the piece, the venting technique is all about generating compassion for your partner and for yourself, and giving your partner a chance to express themselves fully, completely, without you meddling in and asking or, saying anything. So the venting technique goes something like this. One person is going to be the scribe, and they have a piece of paper, good old-fashioned piece of paper, or your phone with a note. That's fine too, as long as you're not going to, get distracted by the phone. But good old-fashioned, pen and paper. And here's the cool part. The person who's doing the writing is just listening. They don't even need to look at their partner.
You're a transcriber.
You're a transcriber. And you're wearing in your mind like a hazmat suit, okay? The mask is nothing. You got your hazmat suit on. You're like, I ain't taking on nothing from you, okay? This is your thing. I'm just going to scribe and you're going to vent.
So the scribe is just in service.
Only in service. The person who has the highest need to express first is going to be the one to express first, okay? Both partners are going to have a chance to be in the scribe position versus in the venting position. Okay, so once I, as the scribe, am ready, I say, okay, I am ready to receive. And then the partner who's going to vent is just going to vent out all of the things that are going on, okay? And it could be about the partner or it could be about life. And the partner writing is just going to bullet point using their language, what they're hearing, and they can also ask for a pause and say, wait, pause. And the person venting lovingly just is silent for a moment so that the person can catch up with the writing. This is a collaboration also. And then once that person feels complete, then they say, okay, I feel complete, or the scribe can say, was there anything else?
Well, actually, yeah, there is something else.
Great.
That's a list.
And to keep going, okay? Then once the person venting feels complete, the scribe will say, okay, I'm going to reflect what I heard. You're not adding anything. You're not interpreting anything. You're being as loving as you can, as neutral as you can, like a transcriber, okay, like a court reporter, and you're just going to repeat back what you heard. So I heard that you are angry with the way I loaded the dishwasher, and you're angry that, this COVID thing is going on so long, and you're feeling frustrated, and you just repeat back what you heard. And the purpose, we always want everybody to understand the purpose of the why underneath these things. As children, we rarely felt heard and seen and recognized for our brilliance and when we're upset. Oftentimes as children, we're just kind of, shoving it down. And those of us who are adults now that we're adults, we're trying not to do that to our children. And, sometimes we still do. So it's incredibly helpful to feel fully heard and satiated. And that's what this reading back thing does. Then once I'm done reading it back, I ask, did I miss anything? So I'm assuming I actually missed something so that the person expressing can say, yeah, you didn't say da-da-da-da-da. I don't take any of that personally. I'm just like, oh, great. Yeah, I missed that one piece. Okay. And then I write down more, or maybe they say, yeah, actually, when you said the piece about the towel, it made me think about these other things too. And good, vent more out. But you want to, like take all the air out of the hot air balloon that's about to take off and like run away. So you want to stay grounded and let that person fully express. And then when you're complete, person expressed everything, you repeat it back. Then you say, thank you so much for sharing that with me. As the scribe, thank you so much for sharing that with me. Do you feel complete?
I feel complete. Thank you for receiving.
Okay. And then we, do a little shake off, maybe take a drink of water, walk outside, and then swap. It's a powerful technique. We've taught this, there have been so many tragedies. I don't know how much you or your viewers know about us, but we're both former educators. I worked in Los Angeles Unified for a number of years, and then I'm on board of directors of a couple of schools. And so, I've helped this technique get out there to children where they learn how to do this for their best friends, and they become the scribes for their best friends. This is after school shootings that have happened and emotional material and, COVID. There's so many challenges going on in the world, race issues, and it's like to have one place where you just vent it all out with your best friend and you're heard and seen and witnessed and reflected back. It's so satiating that then you actually feel compassion for yourself and your partner, and then you feel extra energy to go out into the world and actually be of service and be kind.
It's also fun sometimes once you have the list together, you can shred it up or rip it up or burn it or just like release it back into the universe.
Yes, have a ceremonial bye-bye.
Absolutely. It sounds like there's two or more really powerful things you could take away from this. One is that you could do it when you have a conflict between the partners, but you could also do it just when you really need that extra attention. And I think part of what I've experienced, with just being together all the time is that because you're there all the time, you might not really be there. So you're in the same place, but there are times when you need your partner to be really present for you, and to carve out that time through this venting exercise could be pretty powerful.
Yes.
And that leads us to another exercise that you brought up, such a beautiful piece here, which is the attention.
The presence.
The presence. Mm-hmm. And so we've got a technique called Exquisite Attention.
It's very short. It takes 1 minute. Everyone has 1 minute to do this. Okay? So exquisite attention.
I love exquisite attention. One person will stand and receive.
I'll stand and receive.
And
I'll sit and receive.
Marla will sit and receive. And I basically will go inside my heart and generate love inside of myself first. And then I look at my partner.
Where do you feel it?
And then I just let that love go. And I just pour love. I open up my hands and I just move my hands around her body and kind of scan her body and just send love.
Without touching.
Without touching, without saying anything. I'm just scanning her body with my hands and just sending love through my hands and just letting her feel how much I appreciate this woman, how much I love my partner. She's just an incredible woman. Just, she's kind and intelligent and funny and just, I can't wait to spend some more time with her. Want to hang out?
Yes.
Yeah. And so I just give all of that love to her in one direction and just let her feel and just soak it all.
Mm-hmm. You literally put a timer on. You put a timer on for 60 seconds and you stand in the bathroom together and just receive from your partner. Mm-hmm. And swap.
And then you swap. And sometimes it's appropriate to swap. And sometimes the partner just needs a little bit of extra and you don't need to be receiving back because they're having a big day or they've got a big trial that they're going through. And so your partner just do that extra love to give you that extra pep of exquisite attention.
But yeah, that's great. One thing I learned last night when I was preparing for this, Marla, is that with your background in neuroscience, some of your work has been on pattern recognition, using those kinds of techniques to help couples. And I wondered, has this continued through your work with the best friend bond, and how does that pattern recognition work fit in with best friend?
Okay, I'm really glad you asked about that. This is a beautiful, we could really talk about this all day long.
Slumber party!
Yay! So pattern recognition, let's just define that right away, right? So as humans, we are pattern recognizers. We look for patterns and then we go, oh, I understand that. I mean, just think about driving on the street, right? So you're in a car, there are patterns. You drive for a while and then there's a stop sign or there's a signal, right? So, and you get to know the patterns of how to move around a city, for example. So patterns of communication are one of our specialties. And so oftentimes everyone has had this experience where you're saying one thing and it's being received in some other way, okay? And so typically what happens is we need a little translator to go from how you're expressing to how it's being received so that it actually is received in the way that you intended. And not from the small self's way of intending, which is trying to annihilate and make wrong, but actually how the highest version of yourself is intending to be received. And so part of that is learning the patterns of how you express and learning the patterns of how your partner receives. And so from a best friend perspective, you're just constantly looking for how your best friends can receive you in ways that feel uplifting and satiating to them, rather than just getting your expression out. So now it's a little bit more mindful of like, I'm feeling frustrated. How can I express so slowing it down just enough to observe yourself and be aware. Awareness is always step one. You can't make any conscious change unless you're aware of what you're doing first. So aware of the pattern, you slow it down in your mind and you say to yourself, how can I express this in a way that's going to land in the most loving way possible over here? Okay, from what I know about how Julian receives. So then the question is, what is my tone of voice? What word choice am I using? Am I using I statements, or am I using you and blaming statements? Am I using the word should, right? Don't should on your partner, that you should have done this. Why?
Or his dirty cousin could.
Or his dirty cousin could. Okay. Don't should or could with your partner. Okay. And so your tone of voice, the word choice, and also your physical body expression. If you're like, so, versus giving your partner your full attention, you're open with your body language, you're not scowling with your brow, you're open in your eyes, you're open in your face, you're open in your heart, and you're facing all that love and vulnerability towards your partner. And then you bring it to the union in collaboration. Like, hey, I'm activated by something. I'm feeling some resentment. I'm aware that I don't even know how to express this to you in a way that's going to make you feel uplifted. I watched this thing and Marlon Julian said, try and uplift your partner. And I'm like, how do I even do that? Just by expressing vulnerably, I don't know how to express this to you in a way that's going to feel good to you. And I want to get this out. I want to share this with you because I don't want to stuff it and then end up causing resentment later. I'd rather, growth over comfort, deal with it now with you, even if we fumble around in the messy middle together, which is actually where the fun is, and then come out the other side together. That's to me how best friends deal with that. And the pattern recognition is asking yourself, what can I do on my end to help the translation of what's happening in me land in my partner in a way that inspires them to want to help me come out of my suffering, rather than that makes them want to add to my suffering, right? So if I start blaming, I'm literally asking for him to come back and throw that back on me.
It's much harder for me to receive anything that you're saying if you're blaming me as you're saying it.
Right, because I'm throwing boulders at him at the same time as trying to get my needs met. So the pattern is, where did I learn that from?
Right.
Have compassion. I learned how to express, not to blame parents or caregivers, but I learned something. They learned it too. So at some point, the idea is that you want so deeply to transform how you express, and you're willing to look at the patterns in how you do it as your default, so you can actually become aware and make little micro changes, right? Like the butterfly effect. And the way you do it is by taking 100% responsibility for what's arising in you, and then lovingly, as best as you can, bring it to your partner. Like, oh, I got this whole bag of rocks. Can you go through this bag of rocks with me and we can choose the ones we want to keep?
Sure, let's go through this bag of rocks, except I have a different perspective. That bag of rocks is actually a bag of clouds.
Oh, wait, what?
It's really light and easy. Let's just start pulling them out and letting them go.
Oh, my
No
God.
more rocks.
No, I saw them.
They're clouds.
They're clouds.
Let's have
So I thought that's particularly interesting because when I was thinking about pattern recognition, I was imagining, Marla, that you were going to talk about patterns with Julian, but you actually started with patterns in yourself of your own words and behavior and triggers and just all your stuff, which I think, again, picking up on the themes of your approach and mindset and best friend bond is it's that it starts with each of you and what you bring the bond.
Yes.
But I do wonder, is there, because you guys are so attuned to this, I know with my husband, I think about, you can sort of like see repeat patterns, right? You know that, Thursday at 10 o'clock night is not a good time to unload your stuff because, you can see the pattern of the week. You can see the pattern of, his day. Like, how much of it also is about recognizing patterns of what the other person.
Yes, that's a great, yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely both. I mean, it reminds me of intimacy. Like, you can't really be intimate with somebody else until you can first be intimate with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like the first thing to clean up and to take responsibility is yourself, right? Like, I'm going to take 100% responsibility for my part in this. And then once that 100% responsibility is taken, I can then bring it to Marla.
And it's so much lighter right away. The whole experience is so much lighter when he takes 100% responsibility for his part in it. And
if she's taking 100% responsibility also, right? So both of us are taking 100% responsibility. There's huge overlap. There's no gaps. There's huge overlap of trust, of love, of intimacy, of benefit of the doubt, of connection, of all those things where we want more of. We don't have those with gaps in between because she's taking responsibility. I'm taking responsibility. It's covered.
And it's a practice, and I think it's important because, Emily, you brought up something really important here, which is some patterns are changeable and some patterns are not changeable, right? So you want to know what are the patterns that are changeable. So many of us deal with things like even minor depression or some mental health disorders or, character disorders. If someone has a diagnosis of, let's say, manic depressive disorder or something like that, which we don't work with, just to be clear, that's not our field of expertise. But if you have a pattern that you're aware of in you that's not changeable, that is something even on medication that doesn't change, then that is just something to lovingly share with your partner and say, look, when I get activated by something, what I'm going to do is I'm going to roar. And your job is to just deal with that until I calm down, or to excuse yourself, or, however you need to handle that for you. But again, it's still self-awareness. It's still like, I go through these patterns. These are my patterns, and you want to become more and more aware of those and get professional help for anything that is not changeable. There's also unchangeable patterns in relationship. There's certain things that are actually arising so that you learn how to master those issues together. Not that it's not going to just change into some butterfly version with roses coming out. That's not what the karmic pattern is to work through. So it's like, ask yourself, are you upset about something that your partner can change? Or are you upset about something that just is the way they are, and it's your job to be more compassionate and set better boundaries versus judging them and making it worse?
So how do you, if you're watching this, if one of our viewers is watching this, not with his or her partner, because obviously this would be a great date night to be watching something like this to kind of like get in the mood and work on your relationship. But assuming that you're watching it alone and you want to, make that micro shift, move your partner just a teensy bit rather than, try to go from, 0 to Marla and Julian in one day. What are some small ways that you can try to move the needle with your partner, or kind of introduce the notion of starting a best friend bond, of starting some of these techniques, of just, what are some really just kind of comfortable, approachable, teensy things that somebody watching this might want to?
I think that the inner yes for your partner, just like that's pretty much what I was trying to describe and do during the Exquisite Attention. It's just a full yes for this human being, for this person. And by generating an inner yes for this person again and again, it solidifies and deeply bonds you to this person.
Practice it for 24 hours. You're going to be shocked at how often you're a no for your partner. Okay. Even with best friends, I still find myself a no for something Julian is doing. Okay. Or
Mm.
how he's being in the world. So when Julian says have that inner yes, it's like you don't say any words out loud. It's an inner practice. On the inside, you're saying to yourself, no matter what they do, no, and we're only talking about healthy relationships, okay? Just for clarity, we're not talking about abusive relationships. If that's your case, please seek help, okay? Healthy relationships, I'm a full yes for anything and everything he does today, anything he asks me today, as long as I'm not really truly a no for it, right? I want to check in with myself.
Right.
I'm going to say yes, yes, yes on the inside for my partner for 24 hours. Okay.
Cool.
And then like try it. And because here's what I have experienced personally from that. When I am judging Julian, when I become aware that I'm judging him for something, that's my sign that I have started to lift the carpet and shove some resentment underneath there. My unconscious part of me is stacking up resentment in the corner. Like my little resentment stacker is like, well, he didn't do this and he didn't do that and da da da, and like all of those little things that my ticker tape is going. And so when I have that inner yes, it's like a flashlight that I'm shining and going, is anybody stacking up resentment here? Because when I realize that I'm judging him, that means there's already resentment stacking. So now it's time to do a venting technique, right? And see how you can see how all things start to
Work together.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but that yes is so powerful. And then if you want to up that one more, you can practice giving to your partner what you want to receive. Just to play with it, just to see what it feels like. If you're like, damn, I wish he would rub my neck tonight. I wish he would rub my feet. I wish he would draw me a bath. I wish he would ask me to go on a walk. What if you're the one to say, hey babe, I would love to go for a walk with you tonight with no phones, just for, let's, around the neighborhood, even 20 minutes, you down. Right? Yeah. And give what you're hoping to receive. If you're looking at the dishes and you're like, damn, I wish he would just do those dishes, just go do the dishes and do it. See if you can do it with joy in your heart, not resentment, not like I'm doing it again, any of that kind of stuff. You want to be loving and playful and open and put more loving energy into your union. And this is another strategy, which is making a deposit in the union of your relationship, right? So essentially you need to take a withdrawal. Like, I need extra love, extra kindness, extra support today, and I know you're kind of on empty, so can we take it from the union? And if you haven't been building the best friend bond, if you haven't been, engaging sexually, if you haven't been developing your pleasure together in and out of the bedroom, then it's really challenging to take a withdrawal from the union. You want to be making conscious deposits together in the union.
So Marla and Julian, this has been so much fun and so interesting, and I've learned a lot. I'm excited. It's the weekend. I can't wait to try these techniques. Frankly, it's going to be great. I just really appreciate what you've shared with me and your energy and the thoughtfulness that you've given to our discussion today. So thank you so much.
Oh, you're so welcome. That's our pleasure. Thanks for having us.
We've enjoyed it very much.
Yeah, wonderful. Okay, well, I think that's it for this episode of Wellness Wherever. And thanks again, Marla and Julian. It was such a pleasure. Bye, guys.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.